This is the story of a young man, just 26 years old, full of dreams, energy, and plans for the future. But what he didn't know was that something deadly was slowly growing inside him. Ted Bundy looked like an ordinary American citizen. Born in Vermont in 1946, raised by a working-class family, he appeared normal in every way. He was intelligent, studied psychology, and even enrolled in law school. Bundy volunteered in politics, smiled in photographs, and seemed to live the life of a young man chasing success. But inside him, something was wrong. He struggled with identity, control, and a darkness he kept hidden from the world. Friends described him as charming. Women said he was polite. Neighbors thought he was trustworthy. One could see the predator hiding beneath the mask. In the mid-1970s, young women across Washington state began disappearing. They were last seen near college campuses, bus stops, and libraries. He pretended to be injured, wearing a fake cast on his arm or walking on crutches, then asked women for help carrying books or loading something into his car. When they stepped closer, when they trusted him, they never came back. In just a few months, at least 7 women vanished from Seattle and the surrounding areas. Police had no suspects, but survivors remembered one strange detail. The man had introduced himself as Ted. As months turned into years, Bundy's killings spread across multiple states. He was careful, moving often, changing his appearance, staying ahead of investigators. The disappearances all looked random, but the pattern was terrifying. By 1975, Bundy had killed in several states. Young women were warned not to walk alone. The country was starting to realize a serial killer was on the loose. In August 1975, Bundy's luck finally ran out. A police officer in Utah pulled him over for suspicious driving. Inside his car, investigators found burglary tools, crowbars, rope, and handcuffs. But when detectives dug deeper, they began to connect the dots. Witnesses identified Bundy's car near abduction sites. Survivors recognized his face. And suddenly, the charming law student became the prime suspect in a string of murders. Even after being arrested, Bundy's story didn't end. Twice, he escaped police custody. The first time, he jumped out of a courthouse window in Colorado. He was caught 6 days later. Months later, he escaped again. This time, he fled across the country. His most brutal attack followed. In January 1978, Bundy broke into a sorority house. In a single night, he bludgeoned and murdered 2 young women and injured 2 others. America was horrified. The silent killer was no longer just a shadow. He was now a monster in headlines, on every TV screen. Ted Bundy was finally captured in Florida. His trial in 1979 became one of the most publicized in American history. For the first time, Americans watched a serial killer defend himself in court. Bundy smiled, joked, and even proposed marriage to a woman during the proceedings. But behind the theatrics, the evidence was overwhelming. Bundy was sentenced to death for the murders at Florida State University, and later for the abduction and murder of 12-year-old Kimberly Leach. On January 24, 1989, Ted Bundy was executed in the electric chair. Outside the prison, crowds gathered. Some cheered, some wept, but all agreed. One of America's deadliest killers was finally gone. Bundy admitted to killing more than 30 women, though the real number may never be known. To this day, his crimes remain a haunting reminder. Evil doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes it hides behind a smile. He was only a young man, but inside, he carried death. Ted Bundy's story is a warning. The most dangerous killers are often the ones you least suspect.